One moment. Thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Edmund Washington. I'll be your host and moderator today. I'm going to go ahead and go over the agenda. I will provide an overview of Teams Room, but I also want to ensure we speak to the use cases that resonate in healthcare, how we can help you achieve better healthcare outcomes utilizing Microsoft Teams Room. That discussion will be co-led by Yealink, which is one of our 6 partners in this space. And then if there's any questions at the end, we'll also have some Q&A. Let's take a look at what is a Teams Room. A Teams room can be a conference room of any size. It could be an executive boardroom to a small huddle space. It could be for a classroom, think clinician learning. It could be a flex space, which is a versatile office space that can be used for virtual discharges and shift changes. In summary, a Teams room can be any space where participants can co-create and meet. It all starts with Microsoft Teams Unified Platform, which is available across desktop, mobile devices, and room systems. Today, we will take and focus on the curated experience of Teams platform across room systems and how we bring the greatest and most inclusive features of Teams across your physical and virtual meeting spaces. We can meet you where you are and leverage the existing hardware that you have in your infrastructure. So if you're utilizing Cisco in your conference room today, we can bring the power of Teams into your meeting room experience. Or you can leverage devices built for Teams, which gives you the best experience. We're mostly focused on devices that are purpose-built for Teams, which includes Teams rooms for Android, Windows, and Surface Hub, which is an interactive whiteboard doctors and nurses can use to co-create. Let's talk about the components needed to bring Teams Room to life. You have a touchscreen console that sits on your conference room desk that enables you to join a meeting with one touch. You have a compute device that powers the meeting, and then you have the peripherals, which are the camera, the audio device, and display. When you bring together the Teams platform and purpose-built room hardware, these are some of the benefits that you have. Inclusivity. Give everyone equal presence to contribute to the meeting, no matter if you're remote or on-site. Easy for all, so no more taking 30 minutes to connect to a meeting in the conference room. Flexibility. Turn any shared space into a Teams meeting without rich diversity of devices to meet the needs of any space for various use cases. That also includes connecting to other conferencing platforms such as Zoom and WebEx. So if you have Zoom and WebEx today in your infrastructure, you'll be able to join those meeting platforms using MTR. And lastly, keep devices secure and reliable and up-to-date with powerful and rich management capabilities and analytics. We will touch on this once we provide an overview of licensing, but security and management are paramount to the hybrid work experience. For IT teams in particular, you can have a peace of mind that your devices are secure, but also get access to a secure management tool in a Teams admin center to manage your devices. We also offer a managed service where Microsoft or one of your partners can manage your environment and make proactive changes to ensure your end user are having the best experience. Here are our hardware partners. We partner very closely with all of our partners to build, certify, and innovate on our device portfolio. While devices are important to the room experience, it is also equally important to know that we're bringing the power of Teams with hardware to deliver a comprehensive meeting experience. While we don't have time to go through all of the hardware options that we have, these are some of the variables that we will go through when deciding what device is right for you. From budget to room size to furniture considerations, we take the time to ensure we're working closely with you to ensure that we're making the best recommendations for every room that you have in scope. To compare the difference between a room with AV peripherals to a Teams room, it's a huge difference. So end users will have to bring his or her laptop into the room and find the right USB or HDMI connection and to connect into a device that will project or cascade with the display. With a Microsoft Teams room, it puts less pressure on the end user to set up the meeting. They simply have to enter the room and launch into a meeting with the touch panel on the desk. We certify hardware with our hardware partners to ensure that every device is secure out of the box. So we empower IT to protect meetings and to optimize your spaces. That includes credential guard policies applied to protect against credential theft. Secure Team Rooms app with lockdown policies to limit sign-in vulnerabilities. Automatic updates to keep room systems in a default secure state. And then Microsoft Defender for endpoint threat protection and verify updates to limit vulnerabilities. We give you the capabilities to manage all of your devices in one place. You save time and money on support costs. You optimize spaces with rich analytics once you have access to the other portal that includes the managed service. I'm going to briefly go over some of the licensing options that we have available today. We have 3 licenses to support meetings and calling. These licenses apply to the device and not the end user. The meeting room standard license is everything that you need to connect to a Microsoft Teams service. The premium license includes everything in the standard license and more. It gives you access to dedicated experts that are trained to manage everything from room planning to inventory. They are also trained to take action on behalf of your company to ensure optimal experience. We also have a common area license as well, right? For conference room, desk phones. So those are the 3 SKUs that we have today to support your licenses. So I'm going to transition over the conversation to one of our trusted partners, Yealink, to talk about their solution and some of the use cases that you use to apply and to meet business outcomes. I'm going to go ahead and start presenting.
Yeah, hello. Good morning, everyone. So, Edmund, is it possible to switch me to the presenter? Sorry.
Yes. Yesenia, can you handle that, please?
Yes, on it right now.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Yesenia. So, yeah, in Yealink, we actually focusing a lot on these days on the hybrid work experience, and we are cooperating with Microsoft to bring the best experience that is possible. So the hybrid work, actually, we believe that this is the right time to improve the daily work experience for the healthcare employees. As you know, we get some numbers here. So 59% of the medical practice shifted workers to permanent remote or hybrid settings in the past year. So as we can see, the hybrid work is something that is inevitable. 1 in 5 healthcare workers have left their job since the pandemic started, and 49% of them cited that the burnout or stress as the top of the reason for leaving the healthcare field. So as you can see, another number is that the 71% of employees said that the ability to work remotely would make them more likely to choose one employer over another in the next job search. So we can see exactly more and more employees are looking forward into something of a hybrid work mode in the future. And actually, the hybrid meetings are the new normal. So the pre-pandemic, during the pre-pandemic, most of the sessions was done face-to-face or on-site. During the pandemic, the playing field was leveled, and basically it was like half and half. But moving forward, how do we help all the patients and doctors to improve experience in the new era of hybrid meetings? Here is where the Yealink comes with our team solution. So just a couple of words about the Yealink itself. We are the global leading UC&C solution provider. We're top 1 SIP phone industry provider since 2018. we're already covering more than 140 countries around the world with more than 100 global and local distributors. We're a public company, and our market value right now is more than $10 billion. So we already have some good cases, including the healthcare. We worked together with the NHS, so we provided them with these Teams device solution as well. I wanted to give my word next to my colleague Bill, who will pick it up from here and give more details about our solution in the healthcare. Bill?
Thank you, Adil. I want to thank everyone for taking the time out to meet with us today. When we start talking about a Microsoft Teams room solution in a healthcare environment, there are a couple of use cases that immediately spring to my mind. One of the first is perhaps, for example, standard meeting room application for hospital business, consultations, what have you. That's kind of an obvious one. But the other one that tends to fall under the radar, I think, is a lot of the shift change activities that happen when one nursing shift, for example, departs and another one comes on board. There's always a handover meeting, and there can be times where it would be good to bring in some outside people and to do so very, very quickly, very effectively. And this is an area where Teams excels. Whether your foreign party that you want to bring in is in a car or walking through the hospital campus, it's very easy to bring them in. And this also lends itself to boardroom applications. Just about every hospital I've ever been in, somewhere in the business unit is a very nice boardroom. So we've got systems that are targeted for those larger spaces, smaller spaces, et cetera. And our portfolio is very modular. So there's a lot of common components that you just simply add more of. If you need more camera power, you add a couple more cameras, for example. If you need more microphones or more speakers, maybe you want to repurpose a unit. This goes to a lot of the cost of ownership or the complexity of ownership. And having a system that can be raised up or dropped down in capabilities is very, very convenient. And the fact that it's all common componentry as we move through this makes maintaining these much easier, because once you know one, you pretty much know them all. And when you add that to the ubiquity of the Teams experience, you really have alleviated the spin up time and challenges it takes to alter the configuration of a space or to create a new space. All right, next slide, please, Adil. Obviously, telemedicine is becoming more and more prevalent. Telemedicine, telepsychology. We will touch on virtual rounds and virtual discharges. All in the name of gaining efficiencies without sacrificing patient care in any way. I've done studies and I've worked with other institutions where, for example, instead of having the doctor moving from room to room to room for the daily rounds, perhaps it's the doctor's chief nurse or physician's assistant that is actually physically going room to room, where the doctor is not. They remain in their office or wherever is most appropriate for them to be at that time. But the whole point here is to gain efficiencies without necessarily having to add additional personnel to the equation. And as you'll see, when we add these efficiencies, we can improve patient care, but also be a net positive to the revenue model for the institution. Next slide, please, Adil. So one of the key components here is the Yealink A20 meeting bar. Now it is an Android-based collab bar or collaboration bar. It's recently been renamed as MTR on Android. But we do some unique things with this. For example, we could put one of these in a patient room and then be able to, say, watch TV when they're in their room, but when the doctor rings in, immediately shunt the TV output and switch over to the incoming call without any action from the patient whatsoever. Camera opens up, audio channels open up, and now you can have a real-time conversation with your doctor without ever leaving the bed. And we've done some studies with some very well-known institutions. We've done some field trials with these institutions. We know this is a very sound premise, and they will be instituting virtual daily rounds for most of their physicians. And again, before you might have, of course, in a teaching hospital, the model's a little bit different. However, in daily rounds, it really cuts down on the number of people and the number of person-to-person contacts in this crazy world we're living into. Anything that you can do to replace actual person-to-person contact without sacrificing or mitigating the quality of care is something that will obviously have some attraction. And the fact that the doctor becomes even more efficient is pretty much icing on the cake. So VDRs, or virtual daily rounds, is something that if your institution isn't looking at already, they probably will at some point. And what I'd like to be able to do is post-webinar is to, if this interests you at all, let's have a conversation. Let's talk about what is possible, because there's some really unique technological advancements that's taken place that allows us to deliver a very unique experience. Next slide, please, Adele. Okay, this is a typical endpoint that we might find in a doctor's office. It is a bit duplicative of what you find in a PC-based Teams client. However, it does raise the game quite a bit with respect to the video product that for example, in this case, the patient would see. Now, this would also give the doctor or the user full access to their Teams chats. It's a touch display. It really, really pulls together all of the threads of an MTR and a desktop client that we see on our PCs or on our phones and what have you. But it's on a dedicated touch sensitive device, so that if you want to do a consult, you can do annotations, you can do whiteboarding, you can do some unique things with this. And as you see on the image on the right, you might have a doctor who selects this particular patient room, initiates a call to that room. The device on the right auto answers, opens up a video channel, opens up an audio channel, and the doctor is able to converse directly with the patient on a real-time basis. Now, the other item that really can have a significant impact on the revenue model for the hospital, and I really don't like to get tacky like this, but I think it is important that we understand that this is a key component to making the world turn. If we can make the physicians more efficient in their virtual patient discharges on the day that the patient is due to leave the hospital, we can free that bed up much, much sooner. So the doctor obviously becomes more efficient. However, more importantly, or I should say just as importantly perhaps, is that that bed is vacated and cycled for the next patient much more quickly. And what this results in at the end of the year is the number of bed cycles goes up without necessarily increasing the number of personnel that it would take to deliver that same high quality healthcare. So the revenue implications of streamlining both the virtual daily rounds and the patient discharges is very significant. And on a medium-sized institution, this could be many, many millions of dollars of additional net new revenue to the hospital simply by streamlining these two daily activities. Next slide, please. So as we begin to build in the Teams technology and the Teams AIs into the patient experience, if you will. We did want to mention a new device category that Yealink and Microsoft co-pioneered, and that's an AI-powered speakerphone. This will allow you to voice control the Teams unit. You can do things like raising volume, lowering volume, generating calls, interact with Cortana. If we have language recognition or language barriers, teams will very soon be reaching out and deploying voice recognition features, voice transcription, but also, and I think the most powerful feature really, is language translation on a real-time basis. So I'm not a native, say, Spanish spoken individual. If I was a physician for someone who was dependent on the Spanish language, I don't know that I could deliver the quality of healthcare that that individual would deserve. There may be too many things that fall through the cracks. This allows each individual to remain in their native language. It can generate the record so everyone knows what was said, what was explained. But most importantly, I can now read the words coming to me that were spoken in Spanish. I can read them in English and vice versa. So this is something that Teams is bringing to the patient care environment that is totally net new, and we're seeing upticks in the legal verticals, where we used to engage a tremendous number of language translation specialists. When this is fully deployed, I think we're going to see a lot of those inherent expenses that are encompassed in the translation business go away. So again, it could potentially save a great deal and keep everybody more comfortable. Now, the room panel. This device is also a device that Yealink co-pioneered with Microsoft, and it started life as a basic scheduling panel, hung outside of a meeting room to tell you the meeting schedule for that particular room, and you can book a meeting from it. You could look for additional meeting spaces, etc. However, Microsoft had the foresight to specify surplus processing, surplus memory, and surplus storage space, as well as hands-free devices built into the device itself. What this means is that if there is a developer on staff, you could potentially be seeing one of these on the outside of each patient room with banners put on there, say, fall risk, and the patient name and the doctor name and whatever information that is relevant. You know, I was recently in a hospital and they did this with a clipboard and a hook on the door, all right, as you entered the patient's room. We can now, with the use of these third-party applications, be able to do this electronically, far more efficiently, far neater, presenting a cleaner, crisper environment, as well as begin to use perhaps some of the color coding on the side of the LED panels to indicate different statuses. So this is an area that is ripe for exploration. And I don't think anyone has really taken a hard look yet of what these third-party apps can really mean in a healthcare environment. We are eager to do so and to utilize the surplus capabilities or the surplus capacity within this device to serve those third-party apps. Next slide, please. So Yealink is also rolling out occupancy sensors or room sensors. So we're going to suggest that putting one of these in the room would feed back data back into Teams with things like people counting and occupancy status. If, say, for example, we have some environments where we have maybe memory challenged individuals, this would let us know if a particular space became vacated that we didn't want to be vacated. This can set off alarms. There's a number of things that can be done through the open APIs that could trigger other applications to do things, like perhaps put things on lockdown if necessary. We originally envisioned this for being in the meeting room and doing people counting and the such. But again, Microsoft is creating net new device categories almost on a monthly basis. So we're seeing the complexity and the capabilities grow exponentially all the time. And as we continue to bring teams into a healthcare environment, I think there are a lot of very smart people who looked into the future, into their crystal balls, if you will, and saw that these kinds of devices and applications can really, really change the game. As I like to say, with better technology, you get better patient outcomes. And you can do it with fewer people, or at least the very same number of people. Next slide. Excellent. Now, one of the things that Obamacare brought to us was the codification of continuing education in the healthcare arena. And one of the challenges that you face, obviously, is content creation. Since you're associated perhaps with additional higher ed institutions, being teaching hospital and having very tight ties, we need to be able to create content. With the integration of Yealink into Teams and Teams into your learning management systems or your LMSs, you can use these devices to create content. And one of the unique aspects about the Yealink portfolio is our multi-camera systems. Now, multi-camera systems are nice because we can cover the audience and we can cover the presenter. But I think more specifically, we can now use these super high resolution 4K cameras to capture content. And we use these cameras as, say, a spotlight camera. So, for example, if I have, I want to do a course on how to run the latest lab tests, or perhaps how to teach CPR, I can use one of these cameras as a spotlight camera on a work surface or a bed and conduct the training one time, record that session into Teams, and then import it into the LMS. So really, creating content is as simple as creating a meeting within Teams and recording it, and then exporting that video file into the LMS for distribution. So creating the content that gets distributed to all of your personnel is really, really straightforward. It's not nearly complex like it used to be when Obamacare first passed. I remember the panic that ran through the industry when they realized by law they had to have all of these additional trainings and certified trainings and all the things that were going on. These hospitals were scrambling to try to stay compliant. This makes this as easy as a one-touch join and a one-touch record. And then conduct your content. Conduct your quote-unquote meeting, which is in reality a training session. Record that training session, import it, and distribute it. Case closed. Really makes this a far, far more efficient way to do these activities and distribute them. Next slide, please. Okay, great. I know that I've gone through this rather quickly. If there's any questions, I think now might be a good time for this. So, do we have any questions from the audience?
So, Mark, this is Ed Washington. Wanted to see if you had an opportunity, maybe discuss your current, infrastructure challenges. I know the team has been mentioning that they want to upgrade, their existing conference room. So, wanted to see if you had an opportunity, maybe you can add to that.
He's muted, I think.
Let's see. Yeah. So currently he's muted, but certainly I think Yealink team. I think this, great, presentation. I think if there's not going to be any Q&A, we can probably end early and send this out to all of the teams. Once we have it, once the recording is completed. And what I'll do is ask for a follow-up meeting with NYP, so we can have a formal discussion on their plans around room systems. Currently, the information that they most recently provided is that they have some existing Cisco units that they want to utilize the CVI solution, but certainly there are going to be other rooms that need to be upgraded, so full NTR solution.
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you, Edmund. Thanks a lot for today's webinar. And yeah, we will be definitely looking forward into having another session.
Yes, absolutely.
Would be great. Yeah, would appreciate it.
Yes. But this concludes today's part 1 on our session on Teams Room. Looking forward to part 2 to discuss deployment options and management. Thank you, Yesenia, for setting this up, and this will end it. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
And could you share this video to us? We also want our teammates can have a look for the video.
Yes, of course. We'll send it out. We'll send out like a follow-up, and we'll include everyone's contact in here for our presenters as well, so you can reach out to them directly if you have any follow-up questions and for next steps, and if you have any questions for us directly as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thank you all for joining.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey.
Sorry, I didn't see your messages.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's probably the shortest webinar.